Survivor Cagayan premiered on February 26, 2014, as 18 new players were split up into 3 distinct groups that helped them in their everyday lives, with Solana being the Beauty Tribe, Luzon being the Brains Tribe, and Apari being the Brawn Tribe. The 3 tribes immediately had to pick a leader to make a decision, with LJ, David, and Sarah being chosen as the leaders, with their decision being that they had to choose their weakest player to go to camp by themselves. While Sarah and LJ played it cool and picked Morgan and Trish, David literally called out his Garrett choice, feeling like he was the biggest threat in the game. When the 3 arrived at camp, they were given the choice of proving their worth and getting started on the tribe shelter and also getting the tribe extra rice, or look for an idol. While Trish took the former, Garrett and Morgan decided to look for the idol. While Morgan was unsuccessful, Garrett was indeed able to find the first idol of the season. On each camp, some dynamics began to form, as Bryce and Morgan immediately bonded, but unfortunately, they were outnumbered by the other 4 beauty players. On Brawn, Sarah immediately recognized Tony as a cop, but he denied it, but would eventually tell her later on to build trust, with this being the beginning of Cops R Us, one of Survivor's greatest duos. On the Brains tribe, while Jatia took over the leadership role in building the tribe's shelter, she began to annoy everyone with her bossiness. At the first immunity challenge of the season, it was a complete blowout, as Bronze and Beauty dominated Brains, sending them the tribal. Cass and David agreed that Jatia should go for her poor attitude. However, everyone else agreed that David was playing too hard too fast by targeting Garrett, and thus, he was sent home first in a 4-2 vote. And as a big baseball fan, why am I not surprised that the owner of the Miami Marlins got voted out first?
David, the tribe has spoken.
The premiere continues on with Cass having lost her closest ally, but luckily for her, she was now in the swing vote spot between Garrett and Spencer, and Tasha and Jatia, choosing to side with the former in hopes this time they could take out Jatia. On the Bronze tribe, Tony set up his famous spy shack to spy on his opponents without them realizing it. He would also find the idol as well, giving him lots of power within the Bronze tribe. At the immunity challenge, the Brains got off to a big lead, but at the puzzle, the part where you would think they would shine, Jatia completely blew it, sending them to their second straight tribal. With Jatia already on the outs, combined with her costing them the challenge, Garrett Liddy decided to have an open forum conversation, stating that there was no need to even strategize for the vote, as it was obviously Jatia. This infuriated Tasha and Jatia, with Jatia going completely psycho on the tribe.
You left the mental patient alone and I went crazy.
At Tribal Council, Garrett was still so confident in his alliance that he left his idol back at camp. But this turned out to be a massive mistake, as after he continued to be too arrogant at Tribal, Cass made her first of many moves to give her the Chaos Cast reputation, flipping to the girls' side and blindsiding Garrett in a 3-2 vote, solidifying him as one of Survivor's greatest premier flameouts.
Second person voted out of Survivor Cagayan. Garrett. Garrett, the tribe has spoken.
Episode 2 begins with Spencer realizing he was in big trouble and questioned the girls' decision to keep around Jatia, with them admitting that had Garrett not told them that they were on the bottom of the tribe, they would have indeed sent Jatia home instead. On Bronze, Tony lied to his partner Sarah that Cliff and Lindsay were gunning for her, so he could put the target on them, feeling like their partnership was too dangerous. On the Beauty tribe, LJ, who saw Morgan looking for an idol on day 1, searched in the same area, and he would indeed be the one to find the Beauty tribe's idol, despite not having any clues like Morgan did. At the immunity challenge, Bronze came in first, with Spencer willing the Brains to second, sending the Beauties to their first tribal. The alliance of Alexis, Jefra, Jeremiah, and LJ planned to split the votes on Bryce and Morgan, with Bryce being their target. However, the duo tried to pull on Jeremiah to flip on Alexis and pull off a 3-2-1 vote, saying that he was on the bottom of the majority 4 alliance. But at tribal, Jeremiah stuck with the majority 4, and on the revote, we unfortunately lost RHAP legend Bryce, as the tribe simply saw him as more threatening than Morgan.
Bryce, the tribe has spoken.
Morgan called out Jeremiah's vote after Tribal, to which he stood his ground, stating that Bryce was too much of a social threat. At the reward challenge, Jatia once again struggled, giving the Beauties a hen and rooster for coming in first, while the Bronze earned a dozen eggs. However, Sarah, knowing a swap was coming soon, campaigned to the tribe that they had to throw the challenge to get rid of Cliff, as he couldn't be trusted, and the majority agreed and put their plan into motion. But their plan was spoiled due to Jatia's insanely bad challenge performance.
Just come
Only
back.
3 feet down, Jatia can't get it. She's gonna swim back, costing them a ton of time.
Oh!
Brain Tribe now has another problem. Neither of the women in the water can get the ball back to Spencer. There it is! Cliff scores the 5th point for the Brawn Tribe. Brawn wins immunity.
We tried so hard to blow that challenge. Seriously, Green Tribe, I tried to help you out, but that team sucks.
Spencer desperately campaigned to Tasha and Cass that he would be loyal to them, and he was a much bigger challenge beast in case there wasn't a swap, but Tasha and Cass simply felt more loyal to Jefra. However, it's been revealed that probes campaigned hard to Tosh and Cass about saving Spencer, and thus, they gave in the probes' words, ending Jefra's short but wild Survivor Cagayan run.
Jefra, the tribe has spoken.
Episode 4 begins with the tribe swap, going from 3 tribes to 2. The new Apari tribe consisted of the 3 remaining brains, Jeremiah, Alexis, and Morgan from the Beauties, with Sarah being the only Brawn member on the tribe, while the new Solana members consisted of the other 5 Brawn members, with LJ and Jefra being the only Beauties. The 2 teams immediately competed for reward, with Cliff leading Solana to victory, winning them coffee and pastries. Trish and LJ immediately bonded, which concerned the other Brawn members, while the brains suddenly found themselves in a powerful position on Apari, as each of the 3 Beauty members wanted to align with them to form a 4-person majority. At the immunity challenge, Apari responded from the reward challenge defeat by winning immunity. The Bronze decided to vote for LJ over Jefra for being a bigger threat. Trish campaigned to Tony that they could side with the Beauties to finally take out Cliff, but Tony was very hesitant about turning on his tribe this early. At Tribal, LJ took a massive risk by not playing the idol, but this turned out to be the right move, as Trish and Tony indeed sided with the Beauties to take out Cliff, shocking Lindsay and Wu in the process.
5th person voted out of Survivor Cagayan. Cliff. Cliff, the tribe has spoken.
After Tribal, Trish and Lindsay got into it after Cliff's blindside, with Lindsay being so furious at Trish that she asked to leave the game, feeling like she was going to do something bad to Trish if she were to stay, and thus Jeff allowed her to leave Survivor, and just like that, Solana was down 2 members in the span of an hour. However, they would unite as a tight 5 at the reward challenge, with Tony not even hiding this.
Top 5, baby! Top 5, baby!
For reward, Tony and Wu got to raid Apari's camp, and were also given a clue to Solana's idol. However, they pretended that they were tasked to give a clue to a member of Apari, and chose Jeremiah to put a target on him. Jeremiah told Apari that this was the same clue from the Solana camp, and thus it was useless, but the tribe was skeptical. At the immunity challenge, Solana won a must-have immunity, sending Apari 2.0 to their first tribal council. After the challenge, Alexis campaigned for Jeremiah, claiming he was a possible threat with an idol and most likely to flip. However, Spencer saw right through this, and thus believed that in reality, Alexis was campaigning super hard because she would actually be most likely of the Beauties to flip. At Tribal, the tribe split the votes on Alexis and Jeremiah, and in the end, agreed that Alexis had a higher chance of flipping, leading to a pretty heartbreaking reaction from the poor girl.
Alexis, the tribe has spoken.
Episode 6 now of Survivor Cagayan, one of the greatest episodes in Survivor history. It started with the final 11 anticipating the merge, and this was indeed the case, as the 2 tribes merged on Apari's beach. They were then given a clue to a new idol that had special powers. Apari and Solana 2.0 both seemed pretty tight, with Sarah being the obvious swing vote here, as she could realign with her former Brawn tribe members on Solana. At the first individual immunity challenge, Wu won a key immunity, as this would be one less target for the Aparis. After the challenge, Tony continued to campaign hard to his partner, but could tell she wasn't flipping. In fact, Sarah even brought up the idea of voting for Tony, but Apari agreed that voting for Jefra would be the safe vote. But just when all hope seemed lost for Solana, Trish saw her chance after Sarah and Cass got into a heated argument, to which Trish questioned her position within the alliance, with Cass admitting that she was at the bottom, and Sarah's queen attitude was pissing her off. And thus, Trish told Solana that they would be better off voting for Sarah instead of trying to get her to flip. At one of Survivor's greatest tribals ever, Tony and LJ played their idols for each other, believing that they were the targets, only for Jefra to be the one to get the votes from Apari. But then, just when it looked like Jefra was a goner, Cass once again caused complete chaos.
7th person voted out and the first member of our jury. Sarah.
Who flipped? Not me.
Cass.
Cass.
Sarah, the tribe has spoken.
We lost 2 immunity idols, but we'll get them back again.
Cass, 0 chance of winning the game.
It's a long way to go.
Spencer was beyond furious at Cass for flipping, but she was pleased with her decision. At the reward challenge, the final 10 were split up into 2 teams of 5, with the team of Jefra, Jeremiah, LJ, Morgan, and Spencer winning a feast. At the reward feast, Spencer found a clue to the idol and went looking for it back at camp. However, when it slipped out of his pants, Wu used this as an opportunity to tell everyone about Spencer's clue. However, Spencer would still be able to find the idol, but it was just a regular idol as opposed to the idol with special powers. Spencer's great episode would continue as he won his first immunity challenge, leaving Jeremiah, Tasha, and Morgan on the chopping block. Solana decided on Morgan for her laziness around camp and agreed that she was least likely to find or have an idol be played on her, while the Aparis desperately campaigned for Cass to flip back to their side to vote out Tony. While Tony did receive 4 votes, Cass stuck with Solana and sent Morgan to the jury in a 6-4 vote.
Morgan, the tribe has spoken.
After receiving 4 votes at Tribal, Tony took this as a sign that he'd be one of the first ones to go once it was time for the majority to turn on each other for being a big threat. So, in a clever move, he told LJ he was concerned about Wu having an idol, to which LJ said he was perfectly fine with blindsiding Wu. So Tony then used this as leverage to tell his closest ally that LJ was targeting him. Things got even better for Tony as he and the outsiders of Spencer and Jeremiah won reward, where he told them straight up that Solanas were not tight, and he wanted to work with them going forward. The Aparis were suspicious of Tony's behavior and wanted to talk to LJ about it, but were denied of any strategy talk by LJ. At the immunity challenge, Tasha won immunity, leaving Spencer and Jeremiah on the chopping block for the Solanas. The plan seemed pretty simple and split the votes on the 2 outsiders, but Tony felt like now was the time to take out one of his alliance members and begin his back and forth game we would see throughout the post-merge. And at Tribal, Tony and Wu indeed flipped on LJ, sending him to the jury in a 5-3-1 vote.
9th person voted out, the 3rd member of our jury. LJ, need to bring me a torch.
Well played.
LJ, tribe has spoken.
After Tribal, there was talks from the majority about where they could fully trust Tony, but unbeknownst to them, he was spying on their conversations in his spy shack. At the reward challenge, the minority alliance got a big break, as they, along with Jefra, who voiced the most concern about Tony, won reward, and the 3 of them campaigned hard for her to join their side. The losers were also very concerned about this, and Tony smartly used this as an opportunity to rally the majority back together to take the target off him. Tasha would win her 2nd immunity challenge in a row, and with the Solanas no longer having the numbers to split, they would have to choose correctly between Spencer and Jeremiah. Tony would then find the special idol with powers after the challenge, as it was revealed this idol could be played after the votes were read, making him even more powerful. After Solana persuaded Jefra to stay loyal, she straight up told Jeremiah she wasn't siding with the Aparis, and thus, Spencer had to decide who to play the idol for. And at Tribal, it looked like they would idol out Wu, as Spencer began to play for Jeremiah, but then, Tony scared the poor kid, forcing him to play the idol for himself, and thus, Jeremiah was sent to the jury in a 5-3 vote.
Jeff, do you see the inexperience in the young lad? He was about to give his idol to Jeremy. This is a fake idol, by the way.
10th person voted out, the 4th member of our jury. Jeremiah, need to bring me a torch. Jeremiah, the tribe has spoken.
Love y'all, good luck.
Episode 10 begins with an auction, and while the majority of the tribe brought luxuries, Spencer, Tony, and Tasha saved up for a potential advantage. But when the hidden item was revealed, only Tony and Spencer bidded all their money, and in a rock draw, Tony won, leaving Spencer with nothing but a rock. Tony's advantage was a clue to the hidden idol, to which he would find, and showed his alliance in an attempt to scare them away from voting for him. And even if they were, it wouldn't matter, as he had the special idol regardless. After Tasha spent a lot of time with the girls, Spencer used this as a last-ditch effort to save himself, telling Tony that there could be an all-girls alliance, and that Jefra had seriously considered flipping on him at the last vote. And just like that, Tony no longer trusted Jefra. At the immunity challenge, Tasha won her 3rd straight individual immunity, leaving Spencer on the chopping block. But Tony and Wu agreed that they should flip on the Solana girls while they still had Tasha and Spencer's votes, with Spencer explaining everything to Tasha. At Tribal, Jefra admitted that she wanted to flip on Tony at the previous Tribal, and this was all Tony needed to hear, as he and Wu flipped on her to side with Tasha and Spencer, sending Jefra to the jury in a 4-3 blindside.
Jefra, the tribe has spoken.
Good luck, guys. It's been fun.
After Cass misheard Tony, thinking he had said something bad about her, the two got into a heated argument, with Tony finally having enough of her, and showed everyone his public idol, and threatened her she would go home if she tried to blindside him. At the reward challenge, the team of Cass, Wu, and Spencer won, and Spencer used this as an opportunity to campaign that the 3 of them plus Tasha could split the votes on Tony and Trish at the next Tribal. While Cass was down for this, Wu was hesitant about flipping on his closest ally, and so he instead told Tony that the 3 of them agreed to vote for Tasha, to which Tony found hard to believe due to Tasha and Spencer's alliance, and thus actually believed Wu was indeed trying to turn on him. At the immunity challenge, Spencer won his 2nd immunity, ending Tasha's winning streak. The two were confident that Wu and Cass would side with them to split the votes on Trish and Tony, but at Tribal, Wu stuck with his number 1, and even Cass realized her best shot at winning was going up against Tony, and thus the 4 remaining Solanas put their votes on Tasha, sending her to the jury in a 4-1-1 vote.
Tasha, tribe has spoken.
Tony officially made a final 3 alliance with Wu and Cass, with him telling Cass he was taking her because he thought he could beat her. But when he let loose a bit too much information about Wu wanting her out, she confronted Wu about this, leaving Tony to absolutely lose it on Cass once again.
Ordeal's off to anything?
I want nothing to do with you, Cass, so
Okay.
please don't talk to me. When I told you that, you weren't supposed to tell him. You get it? I'm sorry I don't talk Lama. I'm supposed to talk Lama to you. You understand that better?
Tony would win the Final 5 reward challenge and brought Trish along with him, giving Spencer another opportunity to convince Cass and Wu that they had to break the two up, with Wu now being more willing to after Tony betrayed him. However, Spencer still knew he was the #1 target, but would come up clutch once again, winning his stern immunity. With the vote now between the untrusted Cass and the jury threat of Trish, the two argued throughout the day, which escalated even more at Tribal. Tony also put off a clever move, lying about his super idol, saying it could be played at the Final 4. In the end, Tony and Wu realized their right move was to take out Trish over the hated Cass, sending her to the jury in a unanimous vote.
Trish, tribe has spoken.
Thank you. Good luck.
The Final Four's loved ones surprised the contestants as they would watch them compete for a spot in the Final 3, with Cass pulling off one of the best comebacks in Survivor history.
Cass 2 pieces away from one of the biggest comebacks. Cass wins individual immunity. Yeah! Incredible comeback. Oh, baby!
Despite Spencer feeling like a goner, he gave one last pitch to Tony, saying that this season was likely a Final 2 instead of a Final 3, and that he would take Tony to the Final 2, whereas Cass and Wu would take each other. While Tony seriously considered this, Spencer was just simply too much of a jury threat, and thus, Spencer's insane underdog run came to an end as he was voted out unanimously.
Spencer, the tribe has spoken.
Cass, Wu, and Tony now will compete for a spot at the Final Tribal Council, as this season was indeed going to be a Final 2, the first since Tokachins, and we haven't had a Final 2 since. And in one of the biggest butterfly effects in Survivor history, Wu just edged out Cass.
Has it! Woo! Wins immunity! Cass 1 second behind!
So pretty simple, right? Wu votes out Tony and wins handily against Cass, with Tony once again being an early boot on Game Changers, and we would still be wanting him back for a 3rd time. But unbelievably, Tony gaslit Lou into making a $1 million mistake, and a $3 million decision for Tony.
15th person voted out, and the 9th and final member of our jury. Cass, need to bring me your torch. Cass, the tribe has spoken.
While Tony did receive some serious heat from the jury, they couldn't overlook how hard he played, with Cass and specifically Spencer clowning on Wu for his insanely dumb decision, and months later, the King of Survivor won his first of 2 crowns, winning Survivor Cagayan in an 8-1 vote over Wu.
The winner of Survivor Cagayan,
Thank you guys so much for watching this retrospective of Survivor Cagayan, and let me know in the comments if you think this is indeed the best season of all time. Be sure to subscribe and like, and check out my previous installments of this series as well, and until next time, have a good one, guys.